Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Are women with less desire than men? Are women meant to be, just kind of, when it comes to the issue of intimacy, that they're not supposed to be listened to, or they don't count, or it's not a big deal? Women are just... where's the position of women when it comes to this issue of intimacy? I think it's a huge misunderstanding. And we see that in the history of humanity. It was a time where the female pleasure, orgasm, was a myth. It was a myth. And that goes to say a lot about the way some men think. And we look till today, in the Muslim community, in the, subhanallah, I mean, in general, it's okay for the guy to be more, if it comes to intimacy, right, he has more desire, and people understand that the man's desire, and the man has a lot more desire. And of course, وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَّرُ كَالْأُنْثَى, the man is not like the female. But people need to understand, it's not like a rule necessarily where, okay, guys have a lot more desires and women don't have desire. There's many cases in which women have more desire than the men. And sometimes it's based on culture, based on diet, based on many things. So there's not just a black and white thing. But I think what's unfair from comments and from what people say and from experience is that the woman is expected to be cold. And if she displays any sense of warmth, and I'm talking about within marriage, and I'll give you some examples of some of the cultures that I lived in. But if she displays a bit of warmth within the allowed measures, she's going to be considered something inappropriate. She will be considered something inappropriate. There's been men who have divorced their wives within the first few weeks of marriage because the woman was a bit, she was warm. And when it came to intimacy, she liked it, she wanted more intimacy, and maybe she was a more, good at it. And then men decided that, how come, this must be, even though there's obvious signs if a woman is a virgin, and in many cases, obviously, when you marry a non-virgin, but the man was just not going to have it when it comes to her being like that, which is a huge contradiction, because maybe the same guy is willing, wants a woman to be more. Guys complain a lot about women not performing and whatnot, and when they do, they're like, oh my God, she must be a bad woman, or oh my God, maybe she was not the way she told me it was, and starts criticizing her and even divorcing her. I remember a case that came while I was in an Arab country. I'm not going to mention what and where. But it was a convert sister married a traditional brother. And the traditional brother divorced her right away after their first encounter. Proper marriage, consummation, this and that. Because she was warm. And he came to the mashayikh and asked, and the mashayikh said, what's wrong with this guy? I mean, guys would dream that their wives would be a bit warmer and, when it comes to this. And here's this guy who thinks he's so pious that his wife is bad. And especially married a convert who's coming from a non-Muslim background. What do you expect, man? Like, wake up. I don't understand why people don't use their intellect a little bit. And this till today is a big problem. So guys can get away. If they're a bit hotter, guys get away. It should be understood. But if a girl is a bit hotter, or she has certain things and a desire, or the desire of the woman has to be destroyed. And it's just like, it doesn't make sense. What do you mean the desire of the woman has to be put down, has to be destroyed? It's not like that. The woman has desire as well. Allah created her and has desires. But of course, both men and women, when it comes to expressing it in public, outside of marriage, both should be contained. Both. There's no if, ands, and buts about it. This is the way it is, guys. It has to be. Okay, there's no difference on that because it's a matter of adab and where and how you show it and how you show your affection. But there's this double standard when it comes to marriage, in marriage, where men, if they see their wife, that she's a bit warm, that she has desire, that she requests more intimacy, that he's gonna think that she's a bad woman. And in the same countries that I've been to, a lot of the guys will talk about this intimacy issue and they will go to pay for this and travel to certain countries to pay for this, to get a hotter woman, but they will not accept that for their wife. SubhanAllah, you don't accept for the halal that Allah has given you, but you want the act from someone else because you say, no, but it doesn't befit a mother. You know, some arguments from some brothers were like, it doesn't really, how can I accept that my wife is like that? As for some woman, just for a one night stand, no problem. That's what I want. But for my wife to have desire in her and to want to have more intimacy, no, I cannot accept that. She has to be some nun and just stay at home and just, of course, stay at home is very important. I mean, I'm not saying, but you know what I mean, right? That kind of talk. And just, just be cold and just, if I feel like it, then I will come and I will request it. And if she feels like it, she has to just shut up and keep quiet. And she's a bad woman if she wants it more than once a month or something, or once a week. And that is totally unfair and incorrect Islamically from the principles of the Sharia. This is not Islam, brothers and sisters. This is not Islam. That the woman is pushed in the corner and she has no desires. Till today, people think it's okay for the woman to just sit around, no problem, she doesn't have anything. It's only the guy who has desires. It's only the guy who can't take it anymore. It's only the guy who's gonna lose his mind. It's only the guy who's gonna, has temptation to have zina and has, the desire to have intimacy. It's only the guy. We're always talking about the guy. And it's the guy who goes astray and it's the guy. Women do it as well, of course. I'm just talking about the way we're approaching the whole thing. It's very, very interesting the way we're approaching this whole thing. It's very double standard. Because what happens is then the men don't focus on the intimacy part of the woman for her to be pleased, and her feelings don't get taken into consideration. See, we're trying to be fair from Islamic perspective. When we talked about polygyny, we said it outright, straight up talk. This is it. Sisters don't like it, you don't like it, whatever. It was with proof and everything. And now we're talking about this issue, and we have to be fair. I want the brothers to come into, isn't this not what's happening? We'll forgive the guy if he messes around a bit. We'll forgive the guy if he has extra desire. We have to understand. Sometimes even, the women say that about women and they accept that. And this is not correct. This is not correct. Okay? Both men and women have desires. Both men and women have to take out their desires in halal, in marriage. The solution, as I say, guys, for everything, what I say in polygyny and everything, the solution is Islam for everything. And it is the woman and the man both have desires. And intimacy is what brings the two together. Intimacy is what brings the two together in halal. And the man, when he focuses on the desire of the woman, and that is his objective, not me, not how I will. By default, you'll please yourself. But when the mindset is to please the woman, and your objective is to please your wife, and the woman, her objective is to please the husband, then without a doubt the two will be pleased. But you see, this ithar, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it, that yu'thirun ala anfusihim walau kanu bi khasasa. It's talking about the mujahirin and ansar, but this principle of ithar, scholars have talked a lot about it. That you prefer the other over yourself, even though you are in need of it. You have the desire, yeah, but prefer the other one. And when you focus on the other one and you take in consideration that, hey, they also have desires, that, hey, I should focus on making sure that they are taken in consideration, satisfied, and then it's going to be vice versa. And both of them will be happy. Have you thought about that? So, yes, women have a lot of desires. Some women are suffering. They are suffering because of the lack of intimacy. Be married. Forget about the ones that are not married. Forget about the ones that are not married. There's more than suffering. And some are pushing and they're going to haram. And I'm going to talk more about that. But it needs to be understood. It needs to be understood in our communities, in our Muslim countries. We need to understand that women are not ice cubes. Okay, women have desire, and if it's not tended to, it's not looked at, if it's not taken care of by the husband, then problems will happen. And that is why now it's increasing more and more. The women are going towards the haram. And no justification for that. No justification. But we always need to understand this is the Islamic principle of the Sharia. We look at where the problem is to solve it. And one of the ways to solve the problem is when we understand what a woman is, that also she has desires, that also she has sometimes even more than the man. And we'll talk about that. We're saying the things that, proof, evidence, and real talk. Not like, I'm trying to please the wife, the man or the women, or impress this one. No, we're talking based on the way it is. In the Polygyny series, we said the way it was. Sisters were not happy. Now we're going to talk about in the Intimate series. We're going to talk about things, and I'm sure a lot of brothers are not going to be happy. It's okay. Comment. Be polite. Be courteous when you comment, inshallah. And we are going to try to hopefully get more mashayikh on this. I've been talking yesterday. I met with someone, and they said that, look, the guys, they don't really want to talk because that taboo. People are going to not follow them anymore. It's an issue. Alhamdulillah, some are talking. Alhamdulillah, I'm not saying no. Some, alhamdulillah, are talking. Jazakallah khair. I hope we need more, so we can eradicate some of the cultural practices that are from Jahiliyyah, actually, and against Islam. And then hopefully solve some of the problems within the marriages and within the bond and union, the beautiful bond and union that Allah has given us, which is marriage and intimacy. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum.